Good morning students, welcome to the chemistry online classes. Today we are going to complete the two topics, electrical properties of the solid and the magnetic properties of the solids. So here we have the electrical properties of the solids. On the basis of the electrical properties, the crystalline solids or the solids can be classified into three categories, that is conductors, insulators and semiconductors. The range for the conductivity for the conductor is 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 7 ohm inverse meter inverse. The metals whose conductivity is 10 to the power 7 ohm inverse meter inverse are considered as the good conductors. Conductors are also of two types, that is metals and second electrolytes. In the metals, the conductivity is due to the mobile electrons, and in the electrolytes, the conductivity is due to the ions. Next are the insulators. These are the solids with the very low conductivities, and they range between 10 to the power minus 20 to 10 to the power minus 10 ohm inverse meter inverse. Then the semiconductors, whose range is between the conductors and the insulators. These are the solids with the conductivities in the intermediate range from 10 to the power minus 6 to 10 to the power 4 ohm inverse meter inverse. Semiconductors are of two types, intrinsic and extrinsic. In the intrinsic, conductivity is due to the crystal defects, and this defect arises due to the high temperature. Whereas in the extrinsic doping, the conductivity is due to the addition of the impurity. This technique of adding impurity is also called doping. Doping again is of two types, that is N-type and P-type. In the N-type of doping, the group 14 elements are doped with group 15 elements. For example, when silicon or the germanium crystal is doped with the group 15 elements like phosphorus or the arsenic, the doped atom, that is phosphorus and the arsenic, they will form the four covalent bonds with the silicon or the germanium atom, but the fifth electron is not used in the bonding and becomes the delocalized and cause the electrical conductivity. Thus, silicon, germanium or group 14 elements when doped with group 15 elements like phosphorus or sulfur, phosphorus or arsenic, they are called the N-type of the semiconductors. Next is the P-type semiconductors, in which when group 14 elements are doped with group 13 elements, for example, when silicon, germanium again doped with group 13 elements like boron and aluminium, the dopant is present only with the 3 valence electrons, and in this case a electron vacancy or the hole is created at the place of the missing fourth electron. So here's the hole moves in the crystal like the positive charge, which causes the electrical conductivity. So when silicon, germanium means the group 14 elements are doped with the group 13 elements like boron or the aluminium, this is called the P-type of the semiconductors. In the N-type semiconductors, the conductivity is due to the extra electron, that is mobile in nature, and in the P-type of the semiconductors, the conductivity is due to the hole generated, or you can see the positive charge. So here is the explanation of the conductivity of the conductors and the semiconductors on the basis of the band theory. It explains the formation of the metallic bond, first thing. Second thing, it is based upon the MOT, that is molecular orbital theory, that you have studied in chapter 4th in class 11th. The atomic orbitals of the metal atom of the nearly same energy undergo overlapping to form the energy bonds, that is linear combination of the atomic orbitals, that we have already studied in class 11th. Energy bands are of two types. First, valency band, which is the uppermost occupied band, and the conduction band, which is the lowermost occupied band. Energy difference between these two bands is called the energy gap, which is different in the case of the conductors, insulators and semiconductors. If the gap between the valency band and the conduction band is higher, then the electron cannot jump into it. Such substances behave as the insulators. And if the gap between the valency and the conduction band is very small, some electrons may jump from the valence band to the conduction band. Such a substance will show some conductivity and behaves as the semiconductors. that we have just explained in the previous slides. Here the conductivity rises with the increase in temperature. So here is the explanation for the band theory. As you can see in the figure A, if the band is partially filled or it overlaps with a higher energy unoccupied conduction band, then electron can flow easily under an applied electrical field and the metal show conductivity. And in the figure B, you can see if the gap between the field valence electron and the next higher unoccupied band, that is conduction band, is large, electron cannot jump to it, and such a substance has very small conductivity and it behaves as an insulator. In the figure C, you can see in the case of semiconductors, the gap between the valence band and the conduction band is small. Therefore, some electrons may jump to the conduction band and show some conductivity. So here's the explanation for the conductivity of the transition metal oxides. Transition metal oxides show the large variation in the electrical conductivity. It is very interesting to know that the transition metal oxides, they show marked difference in their electrical properties. Some of them will behave like the metals, and even some of them will show the metallic or the insulating properties depending on the temperature. So here are the examples, you learn it by heart. So we have completed the electrical property, and now here is the explanation for the magnetic property of the solids. See, every substance has some magnetic properties associated with it. Every substance has some magnetic properties associated with it, and the origin of these properties lies in the electrons. So we'll start with the electron only. Electron is a charged particle. Its orbital motion produces the magnetic field that is shown in figure A. Magnetic field along the axis of the rotation, and spin motion produces the magnetic field along the spin axis that is shown in figure B. Each electron in an atom behaves like a small magnet and has its own permanent magnetic moment. The magnitude of this magnetic moment is very small and is measured in the unit called the Bohr magneton. It's not 4 magneton, it's Bohr magneton, which is equals to 9.27 into 10 to the power minus 24 meter square. So here we have the classification of the substance based on their magnetic properties. First one is the paramagnetic substance. In these are those substances which are weakly attracted by the magnetic field due to the presence of the one or more unpaired electrons. Diamagnetic substance, these are weakly repelled by the magnetic field, and this is shown by those substances in which electrons are paired and there are no unpaired electrons. Next is the ferromagnetic substance. These are those substances which are attracted very strongly by a magnetic field. See, even after the removal of the external magnetic field so applied to them, even after the removal of that magnetic field, they will behave like the magnets. In the antiferromagnetic substance, they have the equal number of the parallel and anti-parallel dipoles, resulting in the zero net dipole moment. So they are opposite to the ferromagnetic substances. Last, ferrimagnetic substance, in which they have the unequal number of the parallel and anti-parallel magnetic dipoles, resulting in the net dipole moment. So here is the origin of the magnetic moment. First, due to the orbital motion. Second is due to the spin motion. Figure A represents the orbital motion of the electron and figure B represents the spin motion of the electron. This is the last slide of the chapter, or you can say the class. Here first, in the first column we have the properties, second column we have the information about the magnetic behavior, then the magnetic alignment. This is very important. As you can see in the diamagnetic, in the paramagnetic, in the ferromagnetic, antiferromagnetic and ferrimagnetic, they have the different magnetic alignments. That's why their magnetic behavior is different. Along with it, there are a number of the examples which are very important for the board exams and the applications of those solids. So this is all about this chapter. Get the screenshot of all the slides and copy it down in your notebook. Thank you.